need a haircut. I need a haircut. Video announcements. The hottest trend in church communications. I mean, are you even a real church if you don't pre-record your announcements? What happens if you send someone up there and the guy fumbles his words a bit? What if he says the wrong time or the price or the name? What if he goes off script and attempts a joke that doesn't quite land? Oh, did you see that? That was the anointing leaving the service. Today, we're gonna talk about video announcements, how to script them and shoot them, and if it's really worth spending 5 hours to create a video that you can do live on stage in 2 minutes. Welcome to Blackbar. Hi, I'm Caleb, and today I'm gonna do my best to explain why video announcements are almost definitely not worth your time, and how to do them right if you just love extra unnecessary work. First, let's talk about the advantages of video announcements. They are undoubtedly the safest, most controllable form of Sunday morning announcements that you can utilize. You can script them to the letter and shoot a dozen takes of every sentence until you get that perfect delivery every single time. No wrong information, no bad jokes, everything is neat and tidy and safe. Second, if you have a good video team and the time to do a good job, they honestly do look very professional. There's a certain amount of legitimacy that pre-recorded video content brings to your announcements. Third, they're very useful in time-sensitive services. Do you have multiple campuses that you need to stream to and make sure everything happens at a certain time? Does the worship team need a specific cue to get on stage and start the tracks? Video announcements are predictable. If you're running them through ProPresenter, you can display a countdown to whoever is handling the transition so they can be in the right place when the video ends. There are many times where video announcements are perfectly acceptable, if not necessary, to the success or flow of your service. But probably not. Let's hit the big one first. Time. Time is your most valuable resource in ministry. You only have so much of it, and you need to make sure that you're spending it in the most important places. Video announcements are incredibly time-consuming. Scripting, proofing, shooting, editing, and reviewing your content will take many hours a week, likely from multiple people. That's time that can be used creating engaging content on social media, capturing powerful testimonies, anything. But instead, we're using that time to replace a communication method that takes only minutes to do live. We used to do video announcements at my church. Our video specialist, Nick, the guy behind the camera right now, is very fast at what he does. He has years of professional experience and a video degree under his belt. In order to pull off video announcements at the quality standard that we set at our church, it took Nick nearly one entire workday a week to push it out. That's not including the scripting and proofing process that was handled by other staff in and outside of our department. We're very blessed to have a relatively large media team at my church. We had the time and the staff to pull off video announcements well, and we still found that it wasn't the best use of our time every week. For the vast majority of churches that don't have 4 to 5 full-time media people on staff, I can almost guarantee that there are better, more important, more effective, more engaging places to spend your time every week. Second, let's talk about arguably the most important point. Do these things even work? Is your congregation even listening? When we played video announcements at my church, we might as well put up a slide that says, please open your phones and scroll Instagram for the next 3 minutes. What is it about the typical video announcements format that can be so monotonous to your congregation? I would argue for 2 major problems: predictability and noise. Chances are, if you're already doing video announcements, you likely have a video set or a specific location that you shoot in, an individual or a short list of individuals that deliver the announcements, and an animation template that you update with new text every week. I'd venture to guess that the script is always written by the same person, and likely that repeated announcements have been delivered with the same exact words for months. In advertising, this type of monotonous, formulaic repetition is practically begging to be ignored. Even after your faithful few fight through the waves of boredom that you're pelting them with, they have to sift through all of the noise, all of the content that doesn't pertain to them. Let's imagine that I'm visiting a new church and listening to their video announcements for the first time. They announce an upcoming water baptism, a women's conference, a youth retreat, and a membership class. I've been water baptized, I'm not a woman, and I don't have kids. The membership class might be interesting depending on how the rest of the service goes, but you get my point. Of the announcements I've just heard, only up to 25% of them are actually applicable to me. That is a recipe for scrolling through Instagram. Lastly, let's talk about flexibility. If you haven't done video announcements before, you might think that it's a great idea to try to work ahead. Let's shoot a month's worth of video announcements in advance so we can get ahead of the work. To which I say, good luck. Have you ever worked in ministry? I don't care how big and scheduled out your church is. Changes will come. Late changes will come. Sunday morning changes will come. I've seen announcements change in between services. Video announcements are not flexible. A wrong time or detail almost always guarantees that a reshoot is necessary. Every minute of time up until that point has been wasted. I'd love to be able to tell you that this doesn't happen, but it's a regular occurrence. Effective ministry often needs to be fluid in order to be successful. Unfortunately, if you're doing video announcements, that flexibility comes at the cost of hours of wasted work. So, it is my professional opinion that video announcements are not worth your time in most circumstances. In fact, Nick.
Yeah.
Should people shoot video announcements?
No.
Okay, thank you. Go back. But, like I mentioned before, sometimes they are necessary. If you're gonna do them, let's talk about how to do them right. First, the scripting. Don't. Seriously, unless you've managed to find yourself an incredibly talented screenwriter that takes the time to understand the nuances of every one of your video announcers, the scripts will sound more like the person who wrote it than the person delivering it. This almost always makes the final product feel fake or corporate. Instead, write bullet points. Give the details of the events to your announcers and allow them to put the announcements into their own words. This will require finding talent that feels more comfortable in front of a camera, but I promise that it will make your videos feel more natural and genuine. Second, the proofing. This is always to be done prior to shooting. An edit here costs seconds. Later, it will cost hours. Make sure that the details of every event are run by as many eyes as you can find. Also, be intentional with which events are being announced. Like in the example I mentioned earlier, filling up your video announcements with niche, audience-specific events will create noise for the vast majority of your congregation. At our church, we use the 70% rule. If an announcement that we're considering is relevant to less than 70% of the audience we're delivering it to, we find a more targeted way to reach that audience. This may be through a mailer, social media advertising, targeted push notification, whatever. Stick to church-wide events and find better ways to market your more niche messages. Third, the shooting. Change up the location. Trust me, I understand how easy it is to walk into your default set or standard location and knock out a shoot in 20 minutes. But changing up the atmosphere will help make your video announcements feel like a new video every week rather than more of the same. Also, for those adventurous few looking to spice up your weekly announcements with a green screen, for the love of all things holy, don't. Contrary to popular opinion, it is very possible to get a great key while using a green screen with proper lighting. However, this takes time, lots of time. If you're shooting these on a weekly basis, you need to make sure that they're actually sustainable. Trust me, your future self and your future rendering times will thank me. One day, I hope to do a video on how to use a green screen properly, but this is not the time to do it. While you're shooting, be picky. Listen to how your announcements are being delivered and make edits as you go. This is your last chance to get it right. Fourth, the editing. The program that you're using really isn't important. What's important is that you keep the edit tight and fast. Cut long pauses in between sentences, shave off unnecessary information, and make sure the message is communicated effectively. If you use graphics and animation, use them sparingly. List the name and the time and the location of each event, and leave the rest to your announcer. Too much information on the screen at any one time can be overwhelming. Less is always more. Lastly, the presentation. It's important to choose an optimal time to play your announcements during service. Playing them at the end of your greeting time means they're gonna get ignored. People are gonna just continue greeting each other. Playing them at the end of your service means they're gonna get ignored. Everybody's just gonna start packing up. For us, we play them prior to the second set of worship after our live announcements. Review your service order and try to find a slot that has the best chance of engagement. So, whether you plan to do them or not, I hope you have a better understanding of what it takes to produce video announcements and if they're actually worth your time. Effectively communicating with your congregation is never easy, but I hope together that we can find good ways of getting the job done. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. If you want to dive deeper into any of the stuff in this video or in any other video on Blackbar, make sure to check out our podcast. We drop it weekly. We go in depth into more of the stuff that we talked about in these videos and talk about how we implement them in our jobs. Also, if you want to connect with us, ask questions, or find like-minded people in similar positions, check out our Discord. We're there all the time, interacting with our audience, getting video ideas, and just hanging out. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.